Hello, everyone. This is our third episode of Inside the Mind podcast, and today we are inside the mind of Jonathan, a popular investor on eToro with a really interesting background. So, Jonathan, thank you very much for being here with us. And do you want to say something about your
Yeah,
background? Whatever you want.
Nice
thanks
to
a
have
lot
you.
for having me. I'm a pro investor on eToro and have been investing on the platform for a bit more than 6 years now. My background is actually in engineering, so I have a master's in physics and nanotechnology, and so my background is very much in semiconductor technologies. And I use this in my investment strategy. And my investment knowledge is mostly self-taught. So it's through reading different books about investing, but also recently taking an exam in investment and wealth management. So I try to combine the tech background with a good investment approach.
So, was investing your side hustle that turned into a profession? Was it is it a passion for you?
So I just started to become interested in investing as a way to build wealth and also to protect against inflation. I joined as a pro investor 1.5 years ago. So I was investing on the platform for a few years before I decided to join the program, and I thought it made sense to me because I was already spending a lot of time on it. And if other people wanted to copy my strategy, it would be just a bonus, I think. And since then, I've also gotten a lot of copiers. So especially since last month, my portfolio or my profile was featured on the Explore page on eToro, and so I got a lot of views on my profile. And I think because of my track record of 6 years, people started to copy my strategy. And 1 month, it has been a huge increase in copiers.
This is what I like with eToro. It gives the opportunity to a lot of investors to invest in strategies, something like investing in ETFs, but you can invest in people's strategies. And there you can find people like you that have a really good background on a sector, or someone else that have an AI platform, because we talked in a previous episode with someone that has an AI platform that gives signals to hedge funds, and you can find very good investors and you can invest in their strategy like an ETF.
Yeah, I think it gives a lot of opportunities to people who wants to maybe also diversify. So I think a lot of my copiers, they have a little bit maybe in my strategy, but then they also invested in another profile, so they can mix and match different strategies, maybe some that are more defensive and some more growth focused. So I agree. I think it's a really good concept, also because you can view the whole history and transparent, like what the person invests in.
This is also very important because, for example, if I was a new investor, you have a background on semiconductor and you are investing for much longer than me. So it would be easier for me to put my money in your strategy and pick the AI and semiconductor stocks for me.
Both passively and actively. I mean, an investor can copy another investor and learn from their strategy, but they can use the other investor to copy them and let the pro investor take you wherever you can't go. I mean, if I have no idea from crypto, I would, but I wanted to be invested in crypto because I think it's the next big thing, but I don't have the time to research. I would copy someone that is pro investor and focuses on crypto, uh, on semiconductors as well, and mixed strategies, as we said.
Yeah,
But it can
yeah,
also work educationally, right?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think if I also if I was able to copy someone else's strategy, I cannot because I'm a pro investor, but then I would pick definitely assets that I don't know so much about myself,
Yeah.
and to help me diversify to different assets. But yeah, you're right. Like if you can follow someone who also updates you on why they invest a certain way, you can learn as well, and eventually maybe pick more assets yourself, or simply just be more certain that it's the right strategy for you. I think that's also important because everyone has different goals and financial situations. So if the person is transparent and in telling how they think about investing and that time horizon, that for sure helps a lot too.
So now that we have talked about copy trading strategy, do you want to tell us about your strategy?
Yes, definitely. So my strategy, it's focused a lot on technology stocks, and I use a strategy called a top-down approach. So I start by looking at trends in technologies and also geopolitics, and I then look at what sectors I believe will benefit from those trends, pick individual assets in that sector. Right now, my biggest themes are semiconductors, automation, and energy, because I also have the background, which I think gives me a better approach or a better understanding for the technology itself. So for semiconductors, I try to pick the technologies I believe. For energy, for example, I look at trends that I think will benefit the overall demand for electricity. There are, I think, things like in Europe, we have some dependence on other countries outside Europe to supply our energy demand. And this has hurt Europe in different times, like in recent years, because energy prices have gone up, or because of different wars. And I think things like that mean the investments into electricity in Europe will be increasing over the coming years, both from the energy self-reliance perspective, but there are also things like the rise in data centers that mean that there will be a higher demand in electricity. So yeah, that was in some different themes, but a bit back to my strategy, maybe I can also say that I have around 31 positions, and my top two are two semiconductor companies, and then I have some ETFs as well for diversification. So I have an emerging market ETF and also a European ETF. So for semiconductors, for example, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company is one of those. You refer to them as picks and shovels in the AI investment theme, because they supply the chips that both NVIDIA and AMD and a lot of other companies rely on manufacturing, and they have a bit of a monopoly on some of the most advanced chips. So this is an example where there's a bottleneck, and there's just one company that can supply some of these advanced chips. So I could have chosen to invest in either NVIDIA or AMD or another company that I believed would make the newest chip, but I don't really think I can pick the winner because I'm not inside the company. So here my strategy has been to pick the one I'm most certain about would benefit, because I don't know if the winner will be NVIDIA or AMD, for example, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would like to ask something that we also discussed the last time. What is your strategy when holding a position? I see that you have positions with triple digits that doubled, tripled, and that's great. Congratulations. Do
Thank
you
you.
gradually trim those positions, or are you so long convicted on a position to hold it forever? Or for many years on?
Yeah, so a lot of my positions I've had for many years, so that is part of the explanation for why they have risen so much. For example, I think Taiwan Semiconductor I've had since 2021, so it is a lot of years that I hold it for. And I also think Applied Materials, it's a tool supplier in the semiconductor industry that I've held for since 2020, so almost since I started investing. So that explains some of it. It is partly because of compounding, but I would say, of course, when the stock rises so much, you should consider if it's still worth being invested if there's more to go. The way I approach this, that, and I think for many of these positions, my thesis is long term. So right now, some of these positions they have benefited a lot from AI because the chip demand. But my thesis is that semiconductor stocks in general will also benefit from other innovative or other innovations in the future. So, for example, also Internet of Things, so connecting more and more devices. But I think that there's also potential for some semiconductors to be used in the healthcare industry in making improved sensors for medical diagnostics. And so my thesis is very long term.
I liked something that you said before, that you are not trying to find who will be the winner between AMD and Nvidia. So I'm investing on TSMC, that is a supplier on both of these companies.
Exactly.
And I like the whole picks and shovel plays that you're investing. And I think that a picks and shovel play is also the electric energy, because all the data centers need big amounts of energy. And investing on companies like NKT, as I say on your portfolio, that makes cables, it's a really smart play to invest on the AI theme.
Yeah, exactly. And I also saw that you have a cable producer as well in your portfolio, which I have both NKT and the other one Nexans.
Which have gone up recently a lot.
Yeah, actually. So I should have had more of that on NKT recently. But yeah, you're right. Since we last spoke, it has gone up a lot. I think maybe they had earnings report recently. So
They had their earnings report, and they made a new acquisition, I think. They bought an American company, and now they have exposure now to the US market too.
That makes sense. So yeah, I also have a few other automation positions because that is a different trend, but there's a trend that countries are reshoring production and instead of outsourcing, they move the factories back to local production. And I think in Europe and the US especially, this will need more automatic production, which Siemens and, for example, Rockwell Automation could benefit from. So yeah.
I see that on the electrification basket on your portfolio, all the companies that you have are European companies. This is because you believe in the Europe more than the US, or you didn't find anything good or in a good valuation on the US market.
Yeah, you're right. I mostly have European ones. I do have one, I think, at the moment, First Solar. Oh, actually, I have a couple. I also have two nuclear positions. So I do think there's both in Europe and the US a strong thesis for investing in energy related stocks. Also because in the US, I think it's a different story, but there's the AI race between the US and China. And right now, China is ahead in many ways on energy because they have actually invested in solar cells and batteries a lot more than the US has. So I think that the energy investments will have to come in the US as well. So, but yeah, I do have maybe more Europe, and the reason is both because I can follow it a bit more closely because it's closer to home. But I think there's different trends in Europe that we also in Europe need to be independent on energy or self-reliant because, for example, right now oil prices have and gas prices have risen a lot, and in Europe that is hurting the local markets because we import a lot of energy, and I think these type of prices will accelerate the transition.
Europe was forced to invest a lot in the defense sector because the US said we can no longer contribute this much in the NATO money. So The same will be applied as well in the energy sector. Europe won't be able to always afford these amounts of money that the US is asking for. So even if
Yeah.
Europe doesn't want to go on to proceed with the semiconductor, the energization, the grids, they will be forced to, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I think that that is again the picks and shovels. It's the thesis there is very clear to me because there is maybe some companies that could build the next AI model in Europe, but I'm not too sure who will do that. But investing in energy is more clear to me that that will benefit.
Last weeks, we have seen a big race in the companies in the whole semiconductor chain. Are you afraid of this run? Do you think that maybe we will see a pullback or something?
I think definitely after a strong run, there's always the risk that there'll be a correction. And I think in some ways the market has rallied, even though there are still risks in the market. For example, there has not been a resolution yet to the war in Iran. But even though it seems at least that there has been little progress, the market has still rallied, and it's a risk. So I think the best to do is maybe to make sure that your portfolio is not too exposed to one industry. So semiconductors, they are a big part of my portfolio, but they are maybe around 25%. So the other parts will sort of balance it out a bit if there is a correction. But I am also again long term in the stocks, so I do expect there to be corrections, but my approach is mainly to hold it for many years. And then again, also we don't know if it will continue either the rally. So to me, but my strategy is to stay still invested, but reduce my exposures slightly.
I totally agree. Also, we are long-term investors, and the whole semiconductor industry, they are a big part of more industries that will come in the future. For example, recently I'm studying robotic sector and the physical AI. There we will need a lot of chips also, and a lot of chips we will need on the robotaxi sector. A lot of chips will need on quantum computing, and all of this chain, I think it's a big part of the future. So it's not only now for the AI.
Yeah, definitely. We agree very much on this. So we'll see what the market will do. I think, yeah.
So Jonathan, I have noticed that you also hold a bit of crypto. So do you have a balance on crypto that you want to have focused?
Yeah, so I've added a little bit of crypto. I think right now it's maybe 3%. So I have, Solana. It has not gone so well for my crypto positions, but then I also have Ethereum, and I picked those two because of their role in making transfers of money between borders more cheap. And I don't follow crypto very closely, but those two was my picks to get some exposure.
May I guess you don't hold Bitcoin? I guess because you also try to find the pick and shovel in the crypto narrative.
Partly I think that they are part of enabling faster transfers, and Bitcoin is more of a store of wealth, or
Yeah.
like people call it like gold. It gets compared to gold because of like a store of wealth purpose. So I was looking a bit more at if it can be used for something like faster transfers or cheaper transfers. Then that was the appeal to me. I don't have a strong opinion on.
And just because I also referred to the pick and shovels, when you're trying a strategy like pick and shovels, we do so as well. This is me and Yanis, we do this exact thing as well. But we recognize that there is a great risk because pick and shovel companies always compare to each other. They are antagonizing. They are in a constant run for who is going to close a deal. Are you
Yeah.
open to this kind of risk? How do you manage this risk?
Yeah, that's true. So one way I would say is to again diversify a bit. So I have, for example, NKT and Nexans, both like cable producers, and they are part of an oligopoly in Europe. So I think if it's getting too close to, for example, 10% in one position, to me that's too much. But that's also because I have the approach of having 30-ish positions. Other people, I think they can manage to have a small portfolio size, and I think there's benefits to both. If you have fewer positions, you can follow the companies more closely. If you have more positions, you can diversify and for example, pick both Nexans or NKT. But so I don't think there's a better strategy, but what's working for me is being aware of the size and diversify across some sectors as well.
And before you pick a stock, what are you looking? Except for the theme, except for the narrative. Are you looking more in fundamentals? Are you looking the stock more technically?
Yeah, so I look, for example, at the PE ratio, and then I look at what is the industry average. If, for example, some industries they have a higher price to earnings ratio, and it's just constantly high. Maybe it's okay that if it's in an industry where the price to earnings is usually low, like a bank, for example, then it's the industry average is important. And then, of course, how much the company growing, and also different analysts are saying. I think other good signals are if there's a lot of insiders that buy the stock. I think that's another good signal.
And institutional ownership.
Yeah, I think if the company or the CEO have skin in the game, they have some real risk as well, and it's basically a signal that they believe in the growth as well themselves. I don't usually look at technical analysis a lot. If I can see that the stock is going down a lot, that's very basic technical analysis. If the trend is just down, then maybe I wait a bit before I make a big position. Or
So you go against the trend.
Yeah, I don't do like technical analysis myself, and also since I'm long term, it's okay for me if the trend is a bit down, but I see a good theory or reason to invest.
We don't do something special in technical analysis too. We just see the moving averages. We try to buy when the stock retest on the moving averages. That's what we do.
Yeah,
We don't do something special.
My
that
personal
makes sense.
point in technical analysis is the point where the break of structure happens, and you know that you have a good reversal, that you have tested, and the trend has changed. That's why I also like the fact that you don't go against the trend, because you don't have to bet against the market to make money. You just have to wait long enough to be sure where the market is going.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yannis, I'm fine with what has to do with Jonathan's portfolio. My next questions will be about his software. Do you want to ask anything else on this?
The only thing I want to ask is if you want to tell us too what he's looking for the next year or more.
Yeah. Yes, good question. So recently, I've started to look a lot for cybersecurity or software stocks because they decreased a lot. Cloudflare is an example where it's a cybersecurity company, and it has a really big network of protecting against cyber attacks. And I think with the rise of AI, there will be more cybersecurity threats. That has been the reason for investing in that, for example. But I am still like researching the industry.
You don't worry about the LLMs like Claude, which they have launched new features that threaten cybersecurity.
Yeah, exactly. So, for example, they have launched a cybersecurity version of the AI agent, what it does is it can really easily or quicker find vulnerabilities in the software. So before, like companies would maybe go to a consultant firm to find these vulnerabilities. So they would then help how to fix them and make sure like they can't be used. And this for sure creates some disruptions. But what I'm thinking is that the ones that provide infrastructure where it's not about like finding the vulnerabilities, but having a basic like protection. So it also, of course, depends if the company can adapt and use AI. But basically, it will also be easier to find vulnerabilities for attacking. So I think it's a two-edged sword. So the one that can you find what to improve can also be used to tell attackers, here's something to use, and I think that creates more and more cybersecurity threats. So yeah, I think firms will probably have to invest more in cybersecurity as well, even though it's a bit of a paradox, but I think there's two sides, and it both makes it easier to attack and defend.
My view on this sector is that I think that with AI we have new dangers like AI videos, like AI voices, and companies that can detect all of this, like cybersecurity, but detect the AI fraud. I think that can benefit a lot in the future because banks and other big companies can use them to prevent frauds, to identify what is AI and what is not.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think you're right about that. Yeah.
So if companies like Cloudflare can provide these services, can benefit a lot in the future.
I think so. I don't actually know if Cloudflare does this.
I think no.
No.
I was searching about this type of companies. I personally liked two of them. In one of these two, I invested in my personal portfolio, but we're discussing it with Marius to invest in our public portfolio here on eToro too. But we are afraid a little bit because it's a small cap company and we don't have.
Yeah, okay. I'll be interested in seeing which investment it is.
Well, I can tell you when we close the call.
That sounds good.
So, Marius, do you want to jump on the next chapter?
Okay, so let's go on. And Jonathan, what defines you in the eToro platform as well is the fact that you have created the stock studio. And I have also seen that users that have made use of your software, they have been calling you out, and they give you credits for it.
Yeah,
So tell us a few things about it.
yeah, definitely. So I built a software to help me as a pro investor, and what it helps with is writing content and saving me time on different aspects of content writing, because as a pro investor we need to update our followers um, and also share strategies and different takes. So what I do is weekly I write this type of post where I make a portfolio update, and I talk about what has gone well in the portfolio, what has not gone so well, and then I comment a bit on maybe some of the high moves and also what my thoughts are for the next week, or if I did some moves like sold or bought a stock. However, this is taking a lot of time, especially copy pasting prices and formatting the post. So I started to build a tool to help me with this, and it's called Stock Studio. So what you can do with this tool is set up an automatic draft. I, for example, have a monthly and a weekly post that it automatically drafts for me. So if I can start the weekly one, and what it allows you to do is to connect your eToro portfolio and also select if you want to write a weekly, daily, or monthly post, and the time as well. And then you can basically tell an AI how you want the post to look like. So, for example, the format I showed with top and bottom performance. And this then will run on a scheduled date. So now I think the weekly post was ready. And this will then show up on a post calendar. So if I go in and open it, we can see that it has found over the past week from today what has gone up and down. And this would then already save me a lot of time because I have the draft ready. But before I post it, I would of course then make sure that what is actually written is correct, and also write my own comment, because I don't want to post exactly what the AI has written, but it's still a very good starting point. And this can then be posted directly to eToro from the app. So you can pick then a platform. At the moment, I have eToro and X, and LinkedIn is currently in beta. But if, for example, I pick eToro, I could publish it now, or I can also schedule it for later. So, for example, if I wanted to come out on Thursday, I can schedule it for this and then not worry about this post anymore. Because sometimes you write when maybe your audience is not live, and you want it to be coming out at a relevant time for them. So the basic thing that it helps with is for me to become more consistent in writing posts, because I found that I was often skipping writing a post because I either forgot or it was taking a lot of time. But now I don't have an excuse. Now I have something ready that I just need to review and edit. And I think the scheduling feature, it's useful when you have, for example, a deeper analysis of a stock that it doesn't need to come out exactly today, but maybe you write it in the evening and you want it to come out next morning. So yeah, that's some of the basic features to be able to make these portfolio updates and also to schedule posts to different platforms. And what I wanted to be is a tool that helps you with all the content writing, and yeah, basically helping pro investors become more consistent in writing content, and making it easier to keep the followers updated, because I think it's a really important part of being a pro investor to share your thoughts and posts.
Yeah, of course. When someone copies you, they want to know why you made a move and what are your thoughts when the stock market is going down. What's going on?
Exactly.
I see you have invested in Cloudflare that recently the stock dropped. Now I see that in your weekly automation that you made an explanation on why the stock fell. So this is important for the investors which are copying your portfolio to know what's your thoughts about the recent drop, because the most of the people, the retail investors, are when they see a stock going down, they are worried, they panic, and so maybe they will go in your portfolio and close the position. And in the long run, this maybe will be a bad move. If you have the ability to explain why this stock fell, what is your thoughts on this recent price action, and you do it
Yeah, consistently.
daily, it's really important for your copiers.
Exactly. I believe especially when the market is going down, that's when they want to hear from you the most, because I also agree that if you see the price drop as a copier, you might get worried and sell. Yeah. So that definitely helps with that too.
I think it's a really good platform. It has a really friendly interface, and I think it's really easy to use
Thank
and
you.
will help a lot of creators.
I hope
Hope
so. Yeah. Thank you.
So here I want to say to everyone who is watching that if you find interesting and helpful Jonathan's platform, you can find it down in the description. We will put all the links. He will put also Jonathan profile on eToro, so you can find his profile. All the links will be in the description.
Thanks a lot. That's I appreciate that.
I hope your project with the Stock Studio goes great. And
Thank you.
I hope also for success in the stock market for you and us as well.
Likewise.
So thank you very much for being here with us. It
Yeah.
was a really nice conversation.
Thank you. Yeah, and it was really good conversation. Also hope we can meet at some point in the future. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jonathan.